I'll be preaching in English today. So, many of us younger folk who went to school here in America, maybe some of the older people have heard of before the Civil War, the Underground Railroad, which was essentially it wasn't a railroad or it wasn't underground, it was a group of people who helped escaped slaves escape to the north. It was very intricate, it was organized, because it was very much illegal in that time, because the South really wanted to keep their slaves and the North really wanted to free them. It even got to the point where Lincoln had to allow certain bounty hunters to go into the North to get back the slaves that had escaped, but that ended up not lasting very long. But it was basically like a long journey where people would go from home to home, hiding, trying to escape to the North. And one of the things that they taught the slaves that had escaped, especially at night, was when you're traveling and you don't know which way to go, look at the stars and find the North Star. They even put it into some of their songs that they sang to kind of teach each other. And if you know how to find the North Star, as you go outside, you look for the Big Dipper, which is a pretty easily constellation that you can see. And then right above it, you'll see the Little Dipper with a bright, shining star at the end, the North Star. And they would tell these slaves that were running away, these people who wanted to be free, who wanted to get away from the slavery that they were in, who wanted hope, is find that star and head that direction. Go that way, go north, because that star always points north. It doesn't shift because of the way that the earth spins around. It's kind of at a point where it only moves up and down very slightly, but it's always pointing north. And I'm going to be reading from Matthew chapter 2. It's pretty obvious what story. Matthew chapter 2. Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he who is born King of the Jews? For we saw his star when it rose, and have come to worship him. When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all of Jerusalem with him. Assembling all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired to them where Christ was to be born. And they told him, In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it is written by the prophet. Well, there's more here, but we all have heard the story. So, these wise men, we think it's three because of the three gifts, but it's probably more. Came from the east, which should be somewhere in Iraq, Iran, maybe as far as India. And I was thinking about this story, and something about it just grabbed my attention. And it was, okay, a star appears, right? A star appears. And you're wise men, right? Magi. And one of the things that people would do is they would observe how the stars moved around in the sky. And they could track progress, how a certain star moved north, south, in the sky throughout the year. And if you can imagine, right, a new star appears. That's already a unique situation. For us, we look at the sky. Most of us live in the city. Even on a clear night, we can't see very many stars. But if anyone, I'm sure a lot of us have gone to somewhere in the dark, camping, maybe you go to Empire at night in the summer, and you lay there and if it's a clear night, it's scary how many stars you can see. It gives you a whole new perspective on life. But even in that case, if you look at the sky long enough, you can kind of notice the shifts. And if a new star appears, that's already gets your attention. But then we know that this star guided the wise men to Israel, which would mean, at least as far as I would understand, is that star didn't move as much as the other stars would have. So now you have a new star, a star that doesn't move like the way it should, and all of a sudden, these wise men, whose probably one of the things that they did was observe the stars, it got their attention. They had to do something about it. And they went and they followed that star. If we read further, we know that the star had been there for about 2 years, because Herod killed all the kids that were 2 years and younger, because he asked them when the star had arose, and based on that fact, he killed all boys who were 2 years or under, according to the time that he ascertained from the wise men. Now, I don't know how long those wise men traveled, but knowing how astronomy works and how cycles of the stars work, I think they probably at least traveled a year. Because if you're looking at a star, it's going to be making rotations. It's always going to be moving around. So at the end, at minimum or maximum, about a year, they would have noticed that that star didn't move at all like it should have. And they know that it was something different. That this was different, that they had to look at it. It gave them something. Maybe it gave them some kind of hope. Maybe they just needed to know what it was. Maybe they just needed to know where that star was, and it led them to Jerusalem and then to Jesus. But when Jesus was born, when he came to this earth, that hope was born. And now, when we look at these stories, when we read about his birth, about his death, that hope that those wise men were looking for is now here. When the slaves were escaping north and they looked at that North Star and they thought, if I go there, I will be saved. If I follow that star, that's far away, but I know it's pointing me in the right direction. I don't know what's over there. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I know it's going to be better than where I am. I know I'm going to be in a better place than where I am right now. Jesus is that hope for us. Jesus is that star. He is what can save us from the slavery of sin that we have been fallen into for our entire existence. Our parents before us, everyone. Jesus is that hope. He is that star that we follow, that we have to ignore everything else. We can't go left or right. We just find that star and we follow it, because that is what brings us hope. That is what is going to bring us to salvation. And only him and only his words and his blood can save us. And that is the best part of this story, is Jesus came. He died. And because of his death and because of his birth, we now have hope for salvation that only he can provide us. Скажемо слава Богу за його любов, за його милість, що він народився, що він жив, що він помер і що він воскрес. І що ми можемо мати ту надію бути з ним на вічність. Амінь.